If someone had told her that one evening would change the entire course of her life, Emma would have laughed bitterly. She wasn't the kind of girl who believed in miracles. Her days were filled with endless work shifts at the tiny bakery down the street, her evenings spent tutoring neighborhood kids just to pay rent, and her nights worrying about how to keep the electricity on for another month. Hope was a luxury she couldn't afford. But that night, when she nervously walked into the restaurant on behalf of her glamorous sister, fate had already made a plan she could never have imagined. The story doesn't begin with Emma wanting to go on a date. No, she never dated, not really. Her life didn't have space for candlelit dinners or men in expensive suits. This was her sister Lily's world, a world of pretty dresses, laughter, and carefree choices. Lily was stunning, the kind of woman people turned to look at when she walked into a room. Emma, in contrast, was the invisible one. Plain, always tired, and carrying the weight of responsibility on her thin shoulders. But when Lily asked her to cover for her, saying, "Please, just meet him. Tell him something came up, then leave. I can't make it tonight, but I don't want to ruin the setup," Emma found herself agreeing against her better judgment. She told herself it was only 10 minutes. Just walk in, apologize, explain, and leave. Nothing more. She didn't even put on makeup, only a clean blouse and her worn skirt. Her shoes weren't new, her hair was tied back hastily, and her heart hammered as she entered the glowing restaurant where every table sparkled with soft light. She felt like an intruder in a place where she didn't belong. And then she saw him. He was sitting by the window, broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark tailored suit. The kind of man who carried silence like an aura, as if the world bent around him. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel, a stormy gray that seemed to see more than what was in front of him. Emma froze, clutching her bag. That was him, the blind date her sister was supposed to meet. What Emma didn't know was that this man was more than just handsome. He was a single father, a CEO whose name commanded respect in business circles, a man who had sworn never to waste time on people who didn't value honesty. When his gaze met hers, Emma's instinct screamed to turn and run. But instead, she walked over, each step heavy with dread. I'm not who you're expecting," she began softly. "My sister, she couldn't make it tonight. I just came to tell you." "Sit," he interrupted, his deep voice calm but commanding. He didn't look annoyed. Instead, he studied her, as if trying to peel back layers she hadn't even realized she carried. She hesitated. "No, really, I said sit." Something about his tone wasn't harsh but left no room for escape. Against her better judgment, she obeyed. And that was the moment Emma's world shifted. Dinner was unlike anything she expected. He asked questions, not shallow ones, but questions that cut to the core. "What do you do? What makes you wake up in the morning? What do you dream about?" No one had asked her these things in years. She found herself answering, awkward at first, then with a strange, trembling honesty. She told him about the bakery job, the tutoring, how she had given up school because Lily wanted to chase modeling. How she felt invisible most of the time, but still tried to smile because someone had to hold things together. He listened. Not distractedly. Not with polite nods. He listened as if her words mattered. Hours passed, and Emma didn't realize she had stopped trying to leave. She laughed once, soft, unguarded, and the sound startled even her. He noticed. His eyes softened, and for the first time that night, she saw the man behind the perfect suit. A man who admitted quietly, "I haven't laughed in a long time either." He told her about his daughter, a 6-year-old named Sophie. About losing his wife years ago, and the hollow nights that followed. About how every woman he met seemed to look past Sophie, past the responsibilities, only to see his wealth. He confessed he hadn't planned to take blind dates seriously, but he had promised his friend to try. Emma listened, and something warm stirred inside her chest. When she finally stood, hours later, she stammered, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have stayed this long. I'm not who you wanted." But he shook his head. "You're exactly who I didn't know I needed to meet." She froze. Her heart raced. But before she could answer, he added, "Emma, you're not leaving." Her breath caught. "What?" He leaned forward, his voice steady but gentle. "Stay. Not just tonight. Stay in my life. You're the first person who's spoken to me without expecting anything. The first person who looked at me, not my money. Don't walk away. Not yet." Tears stung her eyes. No one had ever said words like that to her. No one had ever asked her to stay. She had always been the girl left behind, the one who picked up after others, the one who sacrificed. And here was a man telling her she mattered. The weeks that followed were like stepping into a dream. He introduced her to Sophie, who took to Emma instantly, wrapping tiny arms around her waist as if she had been waiting for her all along. Emma found herself baking cookies in a mansion kitchen, reading bedtime stories, and watching Sophie fall asleep with her small hand clutching hers. Slowly, Emma's heart healed in ways she hadn't even realized it was broken. Of course,